because what we did touch on this before, their existence, right? The existence of these two beings, the sage and the psychopath, on the deepest level actually exemplifies the underlying dialectics of consciousness, right? The extreme polar opposites, but in some strange way, like the yin and yang, they need each other, and one refers to the other, right? So I look at that as that they are the ultimate proof of a contrarium, which is the hallmark of all consciousness, right? Our underlying restlessness and underlying polarity. Or in this case, of course, it would be inequality. And remember, the underlying reality is denied by relativists. But yet they're so blind, because actually this contrarium and this dualism is absolute. It does lie, just like time and other qualities we could talk about. It's an absolute underneath. So all of their denials, are really futile here. And the sage and the psychopath, on the deepest level, we'll touch on other things in a minute, but on the deepest level, it represents that absolute polarity. It's a manifestation of it. So what you see on the top tells you about something deep, deep down below. But they do share in common, and one of the things they share in common is that they're born out of an actual culture. And in many cases, both have the same attitude towards that culture, which is that it's an impediment. The sage is an outsider. He's no time for that fucking society. And the psychopath is in it, but also has lots of problems with it too. Remember, both sage and psychopath have also ascended from the pleasure principle into the reality principle. And each of them has a psychoepistemology then. The sage is the one who adjusts to the reality principle, and the psychopath is one who never really does. So he's either looking for regression back down into the pleasure principle, which would be the hedonic type. This is how they cross over. Or he tries some other reality distortion, enslaving other people to his will, like these cult leaders that you're talking about, right? But again, the sage and the psychopath, the one thing they also have in common, and this is crucial, is that they both have goals. Right? They both have goals. Yeah. And then, connecting with that, running side by side with that, is the idea of don't let you, motherfucker, get in my way of my goals. They both think the same thing. The sage is on the journey of enlightenment, isn't he? Which is the hardest journey there is, climbing the mountain. And doesn't he say to the world, get out of my way? I'm not going to let you, the individualist. Look at these Randy, look at Howard Rourke. Either implicitly or explicitly, they're saying, get the fuck out of my way, because I'm going to reach the top of that mountain. But the psychopath is also saying to the other person who's in his way, hey, get the fuck out of my way. Don't get in the way of my hedonism. Don't get me in the way. So his goals, they have goals, but they're very, it's like Rocky in the fucking ring. His opponent has pretty much everything identical to him. The psycho and the psychopath and the sage share that, right? But the difference is, of course, is that in forcing people out of your way, in having that mentality, I go it alone. I am myself. I care about me, is what I'm saying, right? But the sage has it in a slightly different intonation, as does the psychopath, right? But the thing is that then the sage decides, oh my God, when I say this and I get people out of my way, I become this creature called the outsider. If I want to climb that mountain, I am by definition then an outsider. But the difference between the sage and the psychopath is the sage says, so shall it be. I am the outsider. The psychopath makes everybody else the outsider. They're not the same thing.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
The sage becomes okay with it all. With his status as outside the city walls, of him pushing himself away from the city lights and being the outsider, right? The psychopath pushes everybody else away and basically puts a wall around himself. It would be that another thing they share in common is that the rest of mankind, this society, that they're up against, the other people don't know who they are. We already accept that the psychopath is a mystery to everybody else. Yeah, well, so is the sage. Those other people in the midwell don't understand either of these creatures. They share that in common as well then, that they're mysteries to people, right? But the psychopath wishes, right, for the opposite. He wants, whereas the sage says, I'm happy to be the outsider and I'm walking away, like the hermit,
yeah,
which you see at the end of Paris, Texas and films like that. The psychopath has the opposite inner desire. He wants to merge. He wants to be accepted by the crowd. That's the difference. The sage finally cuts the umbilical cord and walks away into the mystery of selfhood and the wilds. The psychopath can't leave. He's always craving to be known intimately by those other people. And his whole personality type is based on a reaction of disturbance. You see when that's not happening, how he tears himself up about it, becomes psychotic, and then basically starts tearing out at other people. Why don't you understand me? I'm the center of the universe. I'm the God that you need to worship. Like these cult leaders. He's the victims of this Adler superiority complex, which is based in the inferiority, right? But the sage saying, Howard Roark is saying, I don't give a fuck if you understand me or not. I understand myself, and I'm moving on to, create something which has secondarily some benefits for society too. But I must self-actualize. Whereas the psychopath never, ever, ever leaves this autistic demand. And when he finds out that the world is this reality, right? When you're leaning towards reality doesn't care about you. Other people don't really care about you. And this offends the psychopath, that he's not the center of their attention. The outsider finds out the same thing, right? The sage finds out the same thing. That's interesting. People, I'm just another one of the loads of people. Or the guy down the street's more popular, good looking, hey, what is all of this? Well, that's tough. It's hard, but I bite down on that and say, okay, forget it. I'm okay with that aloneness. I'm okay with being that outsider or not being the center of attention. The psychopath is always got to be the center of attention. So even if he's got to go visit the psychiatrist, it won't matter. He's the center of attention. Even if he's got to mass murder everybody at McDonald's, what the fuck? He's the center of attention. Big grin on his face as they're arresting him. Yeah. Hey, spell my name right.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so true.
Hey, mama, I'm here. Right? So don't you see then how it connects with what we've been saying? He's a collectivist. And because he never leaves the fold of the collective.